Heyo, folks. What you're about to see is my reaction to the Select Board trying to sweep everything under the rug against Chief McNamara. I recorded that before McNamara filed that she withdrew her motion for preliminary injunction. But I still say that it's worth the watch because I have things to say about the Select Board of Stoughton, Town Manager Coulter, and I'm honestly a bit disappointed in the choice here of McNamara. But I'm still going to show it to you. Have fun. Heyo, folks. Well, continuing the story about Police Chief Donna McNamara in Stoughton, Massachusetts. It's a part of the Sandra Birchmore case and within the circle of the Karen Reed case. Sandra Birchmore was groomed and raped by a Stoughton police officer. He targeted her since she was a minor and kept doing it up until the day he ended her life. His name is Matthew Farwell and is currently awaiting trial in federal court, not in state court. Chief McNamara chose to cooperate with the feds regarding this case, which the town manager didn't like. He ordered her to destroy the evidence she shared with the feds. The town council of Stoughton decided to remain neutral. Well, folks, I believe it is now deceased Bishop Desmond Tutu who said it. I'm paraphrasing here. If you're neutral between a bad person and a good person, you are taking the side of the bad person. This is what the Town Council Select Board, whatever they call themselves, that is what they chose. Now, this has now gone over to be a court case because Chief McNamara has sued the town of Stoughton and town manager Coulter. Now, in an effort to save themselves, the town of Stoughton has filed an opposition against Donna McNamara for a preliminary injunction. So we are going to go through that now. Welcome to the show.
Santa Claus, riding in with the winter laws. Santa Claus, streaming live for the roaring masses. Ho, 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 raise them horns, old Judge King in a crown of thorns. Santa Claus, streaming live for the roaring masses. Santa Claus, Santa Claus, Santa Claus, Santa Claus.
I keep forgetting to say that in the beginning of the video. Hi, I'm Nick. I'm Santa Claus. Now you know. All right. Without further ado, Here is their opposition. Let me place myself up here. Defendant, Town of Stoughton, opposition to plaintiff's motion for a preliminary injunction with supporting memorandum of law. Introduction. Defendant, Town of Stoughton, hereby opposes plaintiff's motion for a preliminary injunction for the reasons set forth herein. The defendant submits that the plaintiffs have failed to satisfy her burden of demonstrating entitlement to the extraordinary remedy of a preliminary injunction. Specifically, the plaintiff has not established a likelihood of success on the merit of her claims. The town here is trying to undermine their own chief of police when she accuses with witnesses, including but not limited to the town's fire brigade. But here they say, please, judge, ignore this. Ignore this. Nothing to see, nothing to see. Specifically, the plaintiff has not as likelihood of success on the merits of her claims, nor has she demonstrated that she will suffer irreparable harm absent injunctive relief. Well, she is currently suffering harm. Moreover, the balance of equities weighs against the issuance of an injunction as the potential harm to the town. Oh no. Poor town, who for years have been trying to cover up that several members of their police force were in basically a grooming gang. Harm to the town and its ongoing investigative process outweighs any alleged harm to the plaintiff. Yeah, here's the thing, town. You are over a month late. Probably a year, maybe 2-3 years late with this investigative process. As discussed in further detail below, the town has placed the plaintiff on paid administrative leave pending an investigation. Here's what they failed to inform the court. Well, they might do later on, but they placed both Chief McNamara and town manager Carter on paid administrative leave. Again, not taking sides, staying neutral. And between bad guy, good guy, if you're playing neutral, you're on the side of the bad guy. And what bothers me, which hopefully they will go into, is that they did this retroactively. They tried to ignore it, and then things blew up. That town meeting hall was packed the other day with people demanding that the town board should fire Carter. And what do? They hide behind, oh, we're going to investigate. Something they should have done years ago when the complaint started rolling in like a fucking avalanche. They should have started investigating their decision to hire this absolute jack-off as town manager. That status renders the plaintiff's motion moot. The fact that you put it retroactively shows it's not moot, in my opinion. That shows you're in full panic mode. Additionally, it renders the relief sought by the plaintiff untenable as the potential harm to the town and its ongoing investigative process outweighs any alleged harm to the plaintiff. You are taking Chief McNamara has shown evidence. She has witnesses. She has phone calls. She has a lot of evidence. The town manager has a claim of the chief of police raising her voice against a subordinate. Not on paper, still not being filed. So you see how the weight of evidence is in this case. This is panic mode, and they are choosing the wrong side. The plaintiff's principal contention is that she was removed from her position as chief of police without explanation, contractual authority, or procedural protections afforded by her employment agreement. As relief, the plaintiff asked this court either to order her immediate reinstatement or, in the alternative, to require the town to provide an explanation and appropriate process for its actions. Since the filing of the motion, the town has addressed each of those concerns. Oh, really? Oh, really? Facts, as they claim. On Tuesday, July 7th, Mr. Carter and counsel for the town and Chief McNamara met to discuss the allegation that a Stoughton police officer had advised the town manager on or about July 5th that officer had admitted himself to a hospital for mental health treatment. That officer attributed the need for treatment to alleged ongoing mistreatment by Police Chief Donna McNamara. This is the first in any written statements, anything that we heard of this claim. It seems like Mr. Carter's counter argument for trying to fire Chief McNamara evolves. Where's that written affidavit, sworn affidavit? And again, what Chief McNamara was doing was cooperating with the FBI to take care of bad elements in the police force, who was discovered at least 3 officers used Sandra Birchmore like a sex toy. At least. If this unnamed police officer is another than those 3, well, he did a proctor. And yeah, say that he admitted himself to a hospital for mental health treatment. We don't know. Again, this is the first time this argument has been brought by anyone. Mr. Carter, the town manager, has never expressed this directly to Chief McNamara until this filing. So I don't know if it's true or if it's just something that has evolved. Donna McNamara, during the meeting, Chief McNamara was informed that the officer sought treatment and alleged that her conduct had necessitated it. I really want to see the answer to this, because I suspect it's going to be absolute fire. At the conclusion of the meeting, the parties agreed to reconvene on Thursday, July 9th, to consider next steps. At no time during the meeting did the town demand Chief McNamara's resignation, threaten her with termination, or issue any other ultimatum. No, but Carter did. Carter did. And you idiots you gave him that power. At least he thought you gave him that power. Chief McNamara was asked to return home so that she would have sufficient time to collect her thoughts and consider the next steps. See affidavit of Catherine Featheroff. On Wednesday, July 8th, Chief McNamara's counsel, Leah Barrault, requested that the meeting be postponed because she has recently been retained and was on vacation. Council further stated Chief McNamara is currently out on sick leave and would ask to stay out on that status until then. She did that because Coulter tried to fire her for cause. And when that backfired, we went through this the other day in a separate video. We went through that. He threatened her with cause. That cause was never presented, neither to the McNamara herself or her lawyer, until in this filing. Isn't that weird? Isn't that strange? And how then McNamara? Well, she's ordered to not set foot in the police precinct. So what to do? Because if she is absent, they can fire her for not coming to work, or try to at least. So she takes sick leave, which she is entitled to under the stress that she's been through. That was her choice. Counsel for the town agreed to both requests. Communications between counsel for the plaintiff and the town continued until it became apparent that the parties would not reach a mutually acceptable resolution through those discussions. Yeah. Imagine that. After the misogynistic PDF file cop defender Coulter tried to get rid of Chief McNamara for having the audacity to try to clean up her police force from PDFs and cooperating with the feds to do so. Thereafter, on July 24th, the town posted notice of an executive session pursuant to Georgia, blah, 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 to consider placing Chief McNamara on paid administrative leave and retaining an independent investigator to examine the allegations against her. At that point in time, Coulter had already appointed a new chief of police. Did they forget about that? On July 29th, this is after Chief McNamara filed her lawsuit, voted to place the chief of police on administrative leave effective retroactively to July 7th, 2026. Again, this is panic mode. Now, I'm not sure about local Massachusetts law, but doing this retroactively screams at me that they are in panic mode and they are trying to still sweep this under the rug by, investigation, yada, yada, yada. Such an investigation can take months, years. If there are anything like Canton, we are talking about years. Canton, by the way, Canton and Stoughton are both in Norfolk County. Just so you can see here, everything is so intertwined in these two towns. So how do they argue this is not harmful for Chief McNamara when they do this retroactively to hide the fact that their town manager tried to fire her with cause? Because they still haven't addressed that in this, and I seriously doubt they will. Let's just continue. The board also authorized the retention of an independent third-party investigator to conduct the investigation. In addition, because the paid administrative leave was made effective retroactively, the board voted to restore all accrued leave the chief had used on or after July 7th, 2026. See affidavit of Brian Winner. Again, screams, please judge, don't, please, we really don't want the court to look into our conduct. Please. Oh, I can't wait for McNamara's response to this. Argument. So, these are the entirety of their facts. They don't mention the town manager at all and his conduct in this. Standard of review to succeed, blah, 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 blah. In light of the risk of irreparable harm, they are triennial management, Board of Health of Barnstable. Further, where a party seeks to enjoin government action, as the plaintiff has done here, the court must also consider whether the relief sought would adversely affect the public. The issues of... So they are claiming this as standard of review. Let me just quickly... in triennial management, the Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts ruled that local boards of health have broad legal authority to enact strict local smoking bans in public places, including restaurants and what? Okay, that's an interesting case, because this is not this is not the select board. This is the select board of health, which should be a subsidiary of the select board. And it is strictly regarding broad legal authority to enact strict local smoking bans in public places, including restaurants and bars. It is not even closely related. What else do they have here? Commonwealth versus Mass Cringe. Let's see here. It's a 1984 decision by the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court defining the broad authority of the state attorney general to sue for the public interest and enforce environmental and antitrust compliance. But that is for the authority of the attorney general, not a local select board. What the fuck? But the citation they have here, the issues of a preliminary injunction generally rest within the sound discretion of the judge. So you have here, not even the two, and then, what the fuck? What else do they? Auto Import Inc. versus Renault Northeast. Even so, the significant remedy of preliminary injunction should not be granted unless the plaintiff has made a clear showing of entitlement thereto. I believe she has. Absolutely, I believe she has. All right, let's go down to... The plaintiff has not demonstrated likelihood of success on the merits because the requested injunctive relief is moot. Okay? The extraordinary relief requested by the plaintiff is no longer necessary in light of the actions taken by the board following its meeting on July 29th, 22 days after their hired gun, the town manager Coulter, tried to fire her with cause. 22 days later. The plaintiff's principal contention is that she was removed from her position as chief of police without explanation, contractual authority, or procedural protections afforded by her employment agreement. As relief, the plaintiff asked this court to either order her immediate reinstatement or, in the alternative, to require the town to provide an explanation, an appropriate process for its actions. Since the filing of the motion, the board has addressed each of those concerns. Okay. The explanation here is the claim that a subordinate of hers was putting him or herself in a mental institution, claiming it was because of the chief of police. That would be interesting to see the answer to. Appropriate process for its actions, which, we're going to investigate. At its executive session meeting held on July 29th, again, after McNamara filed her lawsuit. By the way, we are on July 31st here. So the entirety of this was written between that meeting and now, in 2 days. That is a fast written opposition, which of course also speaks to the absolute panic. And they claim that putting her on paid administrative leave retroactively to July 7th, again, panic mode. Throw this towards McNamara and hope that the court says, yeah, that's enough for temporarily, or as the Select Board tries to say, this permanently makes McNamara whole. Oh, really? It's not even close. You still have the town manager's how he treated McNamara. His lies, his threats, his more or less contempt of court. After McNamara lawyered up, he does not have the right to contact her directly. He says to the town council's council, the town's council's council tells McNamara's lawyer, and then that's the way it's supposed to go. No, Carter, the asshole, can't help himself. He keeps calling her over and over, day in and day out. This here does not make that whole. Accrued leave, blah, blah, blah. Moreover, after reviewing the complaints submitted by a subordinate police officer alleging workplace misconduct by the plaintiff, the board determined that the allegation warranted an independent investigation. So you decided that between the 27th and the 29th. From the filing of McNamara's lawsuit to the 29th, 2 days, less than 2 days, because I believe this was docketed in the afternoon of the 27th. So less than 2 days. This is what you determined. I really, the reply to this will be epic. I promise you, it will be epic. Also the investigator, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. Also, every time they talk about we authorize the retention of an outside investigator to conduct a thorough, fair, and impartial investigation, I want to see what it says on paper, what they are allowing that investigator to go through. That's really important because, folks, I've seen these. I've seen similar things to these, where, we're going to do a full investigation, but then you read the fine print, and the order to the independent investigator is always extremely, extremely narrow as to find in favor for us. 99% of the times I've seen one of those, it's always that way. The wording of the order to the independent investigator is always, please find in favor for us. They are limiting the scope. So when they say this, I want to see what the scope is. Oh yeah, for you who don't know, hi, I'm Nick. Sandra laws. I do labor and employment law. I've been doing it for close to 35 years. This here is a labor and employment issue. This this is my area. Yeah, not the same country, but it is still my area. And it's making me furious every time I see this pile of garbage. Whether it's from town council, if it's from a county, if it's from the government, or from a business, from an owner, it's always the same. Always this snaky, swirly, vile piece of garbage. When they are caught doing bad things and try desperately to save themselves. Remember, folks, the core of everything here is the Sandra Birchmore case. That cops in Stoughton hunted minors, groomed. There's more than Sandra Birchmore in Stoughton. There's more than, yeah, I can. Predators like Matthew Farwell and his brother and Mr. Devine, they don't show up as adults and middle-aged people and all of a sudden they find themselves, oh, we like minors. No, this is something that has been going on for a long time. There are more Sandra Birchmores out there. I believe that is what Chief McNamara was on the verge of, and the feds was on the verge of exposing, which means the town council, who actively, for years now, through this, their town manager, has tried to suppress. They are so scared of bad rep that they protect PDF file cops. That is my opinion. Let's continue with this. As such, the plaintiff has now been clearly advised of the process which will be implemented to address the complaint filed against her. The board has articulated the basis of its decision, formally defined the plaintiff's employment status, restored all leave time previously utilized, and established an independent investigative process before any disciplinary determination will be made. 22 days late. 22 days late. She will not get those days back where you actively supported the town manager by not intervening. You knew and did nothing. McNamara is not made whole, or it's not even close to be a temporary solution, because now all of a sudden there is this workplace harassment. All of a sudden, 22 days later, oh, we find a workplace harassment. A person a cop is in a mental institution. Okay. Have you removed the badge and gun from that cop who is now in a mental institution? Huh? Something stinks here, folks. Something stinks. To the extent the motion sought an explanation and procedural protections, those requests have been satisfied. I really... Let's see further down what the affidavit says. In addition, reinstatement is not an appropriate form of an interim relief. Placing a public employee on paid administrative leave while an employee conducts an internal investigation is a common personal practice that allows the employer to preserve the integrity of the investigation while maintaining the employee's compensation status pending further proceedings. You are 22 days late. You can't rectify the fact that you are 22 days late, where you actively tried to ruin McNamara's reputation through the town manager's allegations and shit talk around town. They cite a few case law, noting police chief's authority to place an officer on paid administrative leave pending an internal affairs investigation. Yeah, but that's not this. That's not the select board. That is McNamara who has the right to play. The department has a legitimate interest, blah, blah, blah. These are the police chief who does that to subordinate, not the select board or town council who does that to a police chief. So this, again, really, really interested in the reply to this. The board further considered whether the plaintiff should return to active duty during the investigation, but reasonably concluded that doing so could compromise witness cooperation, affect employee candor, and undermine the impartiality of the investigation. Again, 22 days late. In the meantime, while McNamara was forced to stay home, town manager Coulter roamed free, shit-talking McNamara within the precinct. How is that not affecting witness cooperation? Yada, 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 yada. Plaintiff cannot demonstrate irreparable harm. Let's see here. I'm just skimming through here. This is one of these parts where I'm more interested in seeing the reply to this, because we already saw how they use case citations. So I no longer trust, and I don't have the time. So I will be waiting for the reply here. So let's see here. Do they even have? Oh, shit. They don't have the affidavits here. Oh, well. Folks, I tell you, this is another cover-up. The Select Board of Stoughton are trying. Oh, look at this. July 30th. So in less than 1 day, they had this prepared. And it shows. It's sloppy. Case law. So the reply to this will be really interesting. I assume it will be filed quite soon. Quite soon. And I will be here covering it. But this smells of cover-up. How about that? Norfolk County. We were both Stoughton and Canton, our towns in that county. Same type of cover-up. Same type of cops. Same type of select board. More interested in sweeping murderous cops, PDF file cops, sweeping all of that under the rug for the illusion of, hey, we are so idyllic here. Ooh, no, you are vile. You are corrupt. And you will be exposed. Thanks for listening in, folks. You all have a good one, and I will see you all in the next 3 more video. Bye-bye.
Santa Claus, riding in with the winter law.